Okay, moving on. I was actually wrong last time. I'm not going to be talking about GSPs. I've kind of mentioned them already in fair amount in a fair amount of depth. There's much more information of if you want to go into details and documentation. So I'm going to move on to some more asynchronous topics like tasks and events. So I don't have a lot of examples for these, but I am going to just talk about them and show you some of the documentation. So this is there's a lot of just asynchronous things that are built in. One of the things that you get are um, events, which are well, actually, let's start with tasks, which are essentially promises. So this is just one way for you to, if you're used to say JavaScript and the way it deals with promises, tasks are essentially the same thing. They're from the Groovy library called Jeepers. Another thing I'm stealing from Ken Cousin. Some people call it GPARS, but you might as well use the pun if it's there. To quote Ken Cousin, um, probably misquoting or paraphrasing, but anyways. So it's one of the things that you can use to get a little bit of asynchronous behavior. One thing to note though is when you use promises, the hibernate session does not come with it, so you will have to create the session, and you can use that. I think like all the domain classes have a with transaction, which I think will automatically create the session for you. Uh, Either that or a with new transaction. You can try both. I don't remember exactly which one I used. I think I used with transaction, and that did it for me. Even though with with new session, I think seemed to sound better. But in any case, um, we have that, and there's lots of information about that. Event is another thing that's really cool. So this is based on Reactor. So one of the things that I mentioned is that since all of the controllers have traits that are injecting new functionality into them, one of the things that you get are these events. So you can actually do something like, let's see, where is one of it? So you can do like say a notify and notify an event and pass some data. And this can be anything. It could be like a map or something. And this can actually be very powerful because it's more like the reactive idea of programming. Again, you do not have the hibernate session, so that's something you'd have to create if you were doing anything with hibernate. But say you were just doing something where maybe you have an event and you want to send, say, a WebSocket request back to your client. This might be a good way to do that because you can do it on a separate thread in the background or something like that. And you can also specify in the controllers or in services this send and receive, which allows you to actually receive it. Or another way is to set up a consumer and a selector for a particular event and go that way. There's also, let's see, there's other asynchronous things that are built in. I know there's an async AST transform. There's a lot of there is some async stuff built into Gorm. Your mileage may vary with this. I haven't played around with that a lot, but I know a lot more. There's a big push to pull a lot more asynchronous functionality into Gorm and how it processes. So you might see a lot of stuff, a lot of new stuff around this in coming out in newer versions. So I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk to you about async stuff. So talking about tasks and events, they can both be very powerful when used. So check them out.